Welcome back to Broken Bobby's Transformation Page. If you are new to the page, in 1990 I became involved in the drug gang world. From 92 to '06, I spent a lot of time incarcerated. I tell these stories to let you know it don't have to be you. If you're young and thinking about trying something or you're figuring out how to get out, these are my stories of this lifestyle and how it affected me, and eventually I got out and transformed my life. So let's get into today's story. So today's video is going to be CDCR level system. And what that is, when you arrive at the reception center, when you get sent to prison, they classify you and they have a point system. And the way this point system works is you get, now I don't remember exact specifications, but I think it's like 2 points for every year you get. And then like there's other things that bring the points down, like your age. If you're younger, you're gonna more likely to end up on a higher level yard. If you have military service, if you were working, whatever your trade may be, like there's a whole lot of stuff that goes into it. And I don't know if anybody completely really understands it, but I'm going to do my best to break it down for you today. So, just a warning, this is going to end up being a two-part series because we're going to go from level 1 to level 4, as well as administrative segregation and the secure housing unit. So I'm going to try to get through level 1 through 3 on the first one, and then the different level 4s, AdSeg, and the SHU on part 2. So let's start off level 1. If you have 18 points or less, you would be considered a level 1 inmate in the state of California. Now, this is typically somebody that, you basically kept violating your probation for drugs, and now you've landed in the reception center and you got 16 months with half. Typically, you're going to be a level 1 inmate. And on a level 1 yard, it's basically, there's a 6-foot fence running around the perimeter. There's no tower guards. And it's, best way to describe it is it's a bunch of people that got in trouble running around playing grab ass, still in there. It's kind of like county jail, I guess you would say. Now, let me backtrack a little bit. You also have CCFs and MCCFs. CCF is a community correctional facility, and MCCF is a medium security community correctional facility, and there's fire camp as well. So I was hoping to get fire camp when I went to prison, but you have to have more time for that because there's training that goes into it, and you have to pass a test, and it's a little bit more involved. So I wasn't able to do that, but they did send me to a community correctional facility, CCF. Now, this is camp, basically. This is very low level. Everybody's going home within a year or so, and there shouldn't be any people that like little ones, and there shouldn't be anybody with R designations on their jackets. So it's real straightforward of what you have. These are inmates. And the reason I say that is most people, it's their first term, and you're going to do your little bit of time, and you're going to go home, and you're going to program. Now, little disclaimer on these CCFs. Everybody thinks they're a joke, but these facilities were run by, I think it was Geo Security Services. So they're not correctional officers. These are security guards. And you can get away with a whole lot in there, but at the same time, something to keep in mind, and I experienced this firsthand when I landed at Delano CCF. when something goes down, and things go down in these places all the time because there's very little structure. There really isn't anybody that's been around much that can keep people in line. So people screw around, somebody gets offended, and shit kicks off. Okay. So I landed in Delano CCF. I'm walking across the small yard with my bedroll in my hand, and I see the woods grouped up. And it kicked off shortly after. Never even made my bed. So I got to experience this CCF, but here's the thing. When shit kicks off in places like this, those security guards at the time, I think they're making like $12 an hour. Like, they're not Department of Corrections officers. So what they're going to do is they're going to yell at you a few times to stop fighting, and then they're going to proceed to close the doors and call the nearest prison so that they can send a tactical response team out to shut it down. Now, there's been a few riots at the CCFs. I think there was one called Stone Mountain, which was out going towards Phoenix on I-10. And that one lasted 3 days and several people were killed. So although it's super low security, that's a double-edged sword there. So the one I was in at that place lasted for about an hour, and it was pretty nasty. And to be honest, I think when the Department of Corrections arrived, a lot of people were happy that it was over because we were going in waves, and I don't care how tough you think you are, you're not going to fight for an hour. So people were taking rest breaks while other people fought, and luckily there weren't any weapons or anything in that. But okay, so then you have the MCCF, Medium Correctional Facility, Community Correctional Facility. In the MCCF, basically it's a higher gate, but it's still these security guards. So all bad. But so yeah, I experienced that as well. So we have those. Like I said, we have fire camps. Fire camps is the best place you could possibly go. You're going to eat the best. You have a good pay number. It's a very desired place to go if you have enough time to land in one of those places. So we've covered fire camp. We've covered CCF, MCCF, level 1. Now we're on to level 2. Level 2 facility is a more secure perimeter, still dorm living. Now, on some of these level 2s, though, you will have some lifers that have not had any write-ups for a long time and have worked their way down to a level 2. So it's a little bit more serious on these levels. And there was somebody that got unalived recently, a few months ago. He was a famous rapper on a level 2. So stuff happens on these ones. It's there's a little bit more structure, and it's a little better, in my opinion. So from the level 2, we have the level 3. And on the level 3, now you're under gun coverage in your day room as well as out on the yard. So, the stakes just went up 100 times. And on some of these level 3s, they have a no hands policy. And what that means is you're not going to get into a fight with somebody. If it's serious enough to take action, you're going to get a piece of metal and you're going to stick it in them, and whatever happens is going to happen. So yeah, it gets a lot more serious. And most of the people that I know that have been on 3 and 4 yards and even in shoe programs would prefer to be on those higher levels because the level of respect is so much higher, because the consequences are so much higher. If you want to fuck around and find out, you will, for sure, on level 3s and 4s. But now, something to keep in mind, you can come into prison with 18 points like I did, And all it takes is a couple of 115s, which is basically it's a write-up for conduct. And you can go from 18 points to 50 points really quick. And, you could be on a level 1, commit stabbing or something of the sort, end up with a shoe sentence, and you're going to kick out to a level 4 180. You're not going to go back to a level 1 when you kick out, because now your points are jacked up. And there's people, I've heard stories of people that have hundreds of points. So, it gets real serious real quick. And a couple of other things I wanted to touch on these 1s and 2 yards, they call them nonviolent offender yards. Well, now this is, back in 04, 05, 06. I've been on these yards and I've looked around, and everybody out there is capable of violence. Believe me, they just haven't been caught for it. So that is kind of a rundown of your camps, your CCFs, MCCFs, and level 1, 2, and 3. On a 2 or a 3 yard, I'd say you're definitely going to have to put some work in. Maybe at the CCFs or whatever. Probably not, because there's not a lot of structure. But as the stakes rise, your people want to see that you're going to be down for whatever's going to happen, because they're going to have your back and they're going to be willing to die for you, and they expect that in return. So, these places are really serious. And, you could, when they start yelling, "Get down" on the yard, you want to get down, but at the same time, you want to be aware of what's going on. And, if it's a major disturbance between groups, you definitely don't want to be the first on the ground for a number of reasons. Because, first of all, if you're the first one on the ground in a riot, somebody's probably going to stomp your head in. And if that don't happen, then one of your people is going to see that you were the first one on the ground, and they'll stomp your head in once it all gets figured out. So, you don't want to end up in these situations. And I'm going to continue with the part 2 of this, and I'll give you the different level 4 yards, ADSEG, and the shoe. And we'll conclude the rest of this hopefully tomorrow.